guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Overshare Hour. How are you doing today, Juby?
I am so tired today, but
Yeah.
emotionally, I'm doing better. It's been a crazy week. I'm sure I will
Yeah.
get into it a little bit in my overshare moment, but yeah, it has been a long week. We also, like I said last week, have our new puppy, and she is just everything. And Kenzie, you got to meet her.
I got to meet her. I know. I got to meet her this past weekend, and I fell in love with her. My daughters fell in love with her. My fiance fell in love with her. The whole family is like, she is a special, special animal.
She
And this is not
is.
her first life. We were all like, this is not her first life.
No
She's
way.
lived, yeah, she's lived more lives. But
She
she
has
kisses
wise
like,
eyes.
yeah, she knows how to kiss on the lips. You taught her well. I like to kiss my dogs all over their faces. Luca is like, that is so disgusting because he heard the story one time about a girl who let her dog, lick her face, and then she got this flesh eating disease and like lost half of her face because of it. And so, yeah, that's like a real story. So he's like,
Here's hoping
yeah,
that that
he's like,
doesn't
what if
happen.
that happens to you? And I'm like, well, we can live without half of my face. It's fine.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it
It'll
out. It'll
be
be
fine.
okay. Yeah, knock on wood. But yeah, I've always just been like these are my fur children, and so she's very, very sweet, and she loves you guys so much.
She
Yeah.
had her first bath today.
How'd it go?
It went good. I
Did
already
she
made a
like it?
video. I'm going to post it. She didn't hate it. She didn't
Okay.
hate it. She was very compliant, very sweet. She was on her 2 feet, kind of like trying to get out of the bathtub like a little bit. So Bran was like holding her up and I was like cleaning her and stuff. But she wasn't like
Oh,
upset or frantic or anything like that.
that's good. Well, that's good for the first time too. Maybe she'll be a dog that kind of likes water.
I hope
Me
so. Yeah.
too.
How have you been?
I'm good. I will talk about my goodness and my overshare moment later, but I'm also exhausted, like so exhausted. We're recording on a Sunday today. We record on Sundays quite a bit, but when we have like super busy weekends and then it's on a Sunday, I feel like I'm like trying to keep my eyes open. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so tired." Like getting ready for the week.
Sleepy.
We're doing like a deep clean of the house right now, and oh my God. Okay, so talk about animals. My 17, almost 18-year-old cat is incontinent, and this is
No.
happening more and more. Yeah, it started to get really bad where I was thinking maybe it was a urinary tract infection, but it's not just urine. So she's like going to the bathroom on everything. And so my oldest daughter came home and went into her room, and she had like gone to the bathroom all over her stuff in her closet. And this has happened multiple times. And she has clean litter. She has her own litter box that she doesn't share with the other cats. But yeah, I mean, she'll walk up and look right at me and like go to the restroom on the floor right in front of me. So I don't really know what we're going to do about that. That's been kind of hard, obviously, for obvious reasons. She's old and we're worried about her. And also, there's feces all over the house often. So we like have to constantly clean. I don't know. We're just tired of cleaning, I think. It's a
I
lot.
get that.
It's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, of
I'm
course
no
you get it.
stranger to
Yeah.
cleaning up stuff that I'm not used to having to clean up all the time. But,
Yeah.
we do it. She's been doing good. She's been like peeing outside more. So
Are you
that has
getting
been good.
sleep?
Thankfully, yes. Okay, so I
Okay, good.
tricked her, which was great because I thought I wasn't going to be able to sleep after we had our game night, that she was going to wake us up so
I
early in the
know.
morning. Well, Brandon had to work at 9 a.m. So he went into work and she heard the door lock, the little ding, because we have an automatic door
Yeah.
thing that our complex has. So she heard that door ring and she thought that nobody was home. So she didn't cry because she thought that she was home alone in her kennel. So I got to sleep in. It
Shut
was
up. She's like,
awesome.
okay, guess I'm just going back to bed. Wow.
I know. So
She's
I
going to
woke
be
her up.
Honestly, GB, she's gonna be such a good older dog. I feel like you're gonna have
I
such a.
know.
She's like gonna be so well behaved. That's so awesome.
She's
Yeah,
perfect. I love her so
yeah.
much.
So other than all of those things, I'm good. Happy to be here. Can't wait.
Perfect. All right. Are you ready to get into the first one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Kenzie and Juby, I recently got married and have the best partner I could ask for. And we both know that we want kids in the future and have agreed to wait a couple years. I'm completely confident that I want kids, but I feel myself getting anxious whenever I think about it. I'm worried about all of the what ifs. What if we have trouble getting pregnant? What if we lose the baby before the baby is born or just after? What if we lose them when they're small kids, etc.? I'm not sure what to do with this anxiety or how to handle it. I've brought this up to my partner and he's validated my fears, but could only say that we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. I'm sorry it's a little heavy, but I don't know what I should do.
This is really hard because I don't know a mother, that's not saying that there isn't, but I don't know a mother who hasn't experienced these feelings to some extent at some point in parenthood. For me, it comes in waves, and it was really bad when my kids were small, like panic level bad. It was part of my issues with postpartum depression. I had extreme postpartum depression with my first daughter. And I'm not saying any of these things to scare you. I think it's just important to talk about it. So you're asking the question, I'm going to answer honestly, because I wish that someone had prepared me for the emotional experience of having a child outside of just loving them, because I used to explain it like, I love something now so much that I can't I truly know what it means to not be able to imagine my life without it. And I didn't know how transformative that feeling would be in a very scary, intense way. And I didn't have support through it the way that I think I needed to, which I think clinically I needed help. Like my postpartum depression was so severe, I needed probably medical support. So it sounds to me like these feelings that you're feeling mirror a lot of what I experienced after I had my first daughter, and they're just happening to you now in the imagining of it. And that's very valid. It's very real. A lot of women go through it. Talking about it and asking this question, I think, is the first step to being able to cope with it. I would say, I know that it can be so debilitating that it can make you wonder if maybe you should even go through with having children. But I will say that, like I said before, I think a lot of women do experience it. We just don't have the support that we need. So finding the support is going to help you to be able to cope and move through the feelings. And if you start doing that now, before you try to have a baby, it might help you when you are going through the beginning stages of, like, after they're born or in your pregnancy. I know there are support groups for women with postpartum or women who have experienced postpartum. I don't know if there are any support groups. I'm talking about like Facebook support groups. Like, you could just go on Facebook and try to find these support groups. I don't know if there are any for women who are experiencing these fears before, but I would go out on a limb and say that these women would happily accept you into those groups and walk you through your feelings or support you through your feelings, because they're experiencing the same thing or have experienced the same thing. But talking about it is going to be extremely important. Don't stuff those feelings. Don't try to gaslight yourself and tell yourself that you're crazy. It's so normal to be concerned. And the biggest thing is going to be finding people who can walk through it with you. So of course I'm going to say therapy. I always say therapy, because I think having a licensed professional walk you through, who specializes in postpartum. I know you're not postpartum, but it really is like, it mirrors the same feeling. Having someone who can walk you through that, prepare you for what that might look like and feel like. I mean, I was having hallucinations. Okay. So mine went so far as to, I'd be driving in the car and I would have horrible hallucinations of thinking that something had happened to my daughter, and I would have to pull over and make sure that she was safe, in the car seat. And so I needed, I think, someone who was licensed, a licensed professional, to look at me and tell me, A, that I wasn't crazy, and B, this is what you need to do and things that you can do to support yourself and to lean on people around you. And I just wasn't talking too much about it. And so keep talking about it, never stop talking about it, go to therapy if you can, and start asking other moms or people who are pregnant or people who are thinking about being pregnant if they feel the same way, and find someone who says yes, because some people are afraid to talk about it and they just won't open up. But that doesn't mean necessarily they haven't experienced anything like that. Find someone who will say yes and being willing to talk to you about it, because those feelings grow. This is what it was for me. The feelings that I had and the fears that I had grew into hallucination and delusion because I felt crazy for feeling them and I didn't share them, and they became like monsters at night. They became so much bigger. It's like, turn the light on, shine the light on the fear, let it out in the open, and then other people can share it with you, and you'll realize soon that it's not all that you thought that it was when it's inside of you. We cannot control what happens. That's the root of the fear, is lack of control. And it is a part It's a long-term part of it. I think motherhood and parenthood, I've experienced it. I continue to experience it. I talk about it all the time. This is my biggest fear, is something happening to my children. There's nothing that we can do to control the outcome of their lives or things that would happen to them once we have them. But we can learn to cope with our own fears in a way that is as healthy as possible. And I would say support and therapy for sure.
Yeah.
100%. What do you think?
Ooh, therapy was my initial thought. I think it's hard for me to have advice because I think that I'm so similar to this. Like, I feel like maybe not to this degree, but I could have written something like this because I have those fears and I think about those things quite often. So for my job, I work with a lot of children who are disabled. And there have been so many talks where I'm talking with Brandon and I'm like, we don't get to decide if our child is healthy. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what reality we are going to be dealt or what we are going to have. And to see some of the kids that I work with suffer so intensely, it is a lot. And I get a lot of anxiety of, does it feel worth it? I mean, does it feel worth it? Because I don't know. It's scary. And I think somebody like me who is so type A and likes control, having something be so outside of my control is very stressful to me. So yeah, I don't know. I think therapy is a big one. Like you said, being able to talk about it. The other thing I can think of is the idea that despite the fact that we can't control what is going to happen to us, this has helped me. Realizing that we can't control what happens to us, but humanity has this crazy thing where we are able to deal with circumstances when they are dealt to us. And I know I've talked about it before. I talked about it when I was talking about the shooting that happened. And I thought, oh my gosh, I would never be able to leave my house ever again if I was part of an active shooter type situation. And then there was those gunfires that went off at the Texas State Fair. And I actually felt like we handled it really well. And it surprisingly didn't traumatize me. And it's something about just like the chemicals that take over in your body to help you like push through something that traumatic. Because I would say that no mother thinks that she's ever going to be able to live another day if something happens to her child. And I'm not sitting here being like, that is going to happen to you, right. But I do think that there are just things that we can't even comprehend until we're in the moment. So giving yourself the freedom to not necessarily go down that path as much as humanly possible, because you don't have those, not endorphins, but all of the chemicals to like get you through those times if you were to ever go through them. I remember I had a good friend out at Bethel, and him and his girlfriend had been together for a couple years, and she had this intense fear and belief that she was infertile. And she had no reason to think that. She had never been told that by a doctor. Nothing like that. They hadn't even slept together, but she was like, I just feel like when we get married, we are not going to be able to have kids. And it was so detrimental to their relationship. She would cry about it, have panic attacks about it. And it was just something that she truly believed. And they got married and they had 3 kids, and I mean, obviously there are people who deal with infertility, but sometimes these things that we build up in our mind, it's not a given that it's going to happen to you. We don't know that this is going to happen to us. So I always know it can sound so simple to say. It's probably similar to what your partner is telling you, but I think about that quote from what is it called? Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's in the movie. And it says, worrying means you suffer twice. So and believe me, I'm like preaching to myself here because I'm the queen of letting my brain ruminate over things that could go wrong, but we don't know that they're going to go wrong, So I would just say that. But yeah, I think therapy, a lot of that is things that I also need to work through, learning how to not let scenarios run away with me because they're scary, But like Ken said, there are so many people who are also dealing with those exact same feelings. And it can feel very isolating when you feel like you are the only person dealing with them. Because I feel that way about
Totally.
like giving birth. I'm like, how are y'all so chill about this? Everybody just acts like it's normal. What do you mean? This sounds like my biggest fear. I would love to
Yeah.
never do that. It's just one of those things.
Yeah. You made a really good point too. I say that all the time that we don't have the courage or the whatever it is to get through the ability to get through things in our minds the way that we will when it's happening to us.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's proven. It's that's humanity. Not saying that it wouldn't be tragic and hard and terrible, but the imagining of doing something feels and somehow humans do it every single day, and that does help me
Me
too.
too.
When I know that I can't control something, I'm like, well, I don't have to know how I will do that because somehow by the magic of being human, I would have it in me to get through it. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, that's so
But
good.
your feelings are valid. Find a community of other women, even if it's online, just that you can talk with other people who feel how you feel. It'll help
Yeah, I
for
agree.
sure.
Trying to get ahead of it as much as humanly possible. That way
Mm-hmm.
you kind of already have those coping skills before you actually enter into motherhood.
And the community so that when you do enter in, you have people that you can lean on, for
Yeah.
support and not trying to find it while you're in the trenches, if you're in the trenches. I was in the trenches with my first daughter. I wasn't with my second daughter. So some people don't experience it the same way. I had my anxieties, but I didn't have like the severity of it the same way. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, we love you.
We
Let
love
us
you.
know. Let us know what you decide to do if you find your community. Also, maybe I can find some resources and link them. I think I
That'd
could
be
probably do
great.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's do the next one. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this one says, love your guys' podcast. Thanks. We love you. My question is, my dad has been obsessed with Bethel Church for as long as I can remember. We live in the UK, but he listens to a lot of Bethel sermons and goes to Bethel conferences every year. My mom also loves it and is trying to bring some of the faith healing teaches from Bethel into their church. At one point, my dad wanted me to go to BSSM, but it was a firm no from me. They idolize Bethel Church and its leaders and are unaware of the controversies around it. How do I broach the subject of it being a cult? Do I tell them or just leave them to it?
Ooh.
What do you
Tell
say?
them or leave them to it. That is such a good question. Yeah, I'm going to talk through my feelings because I actually don't know what my advice is. I think that obviously when you feel like you have this information that this place is super toxic and super culty and that their beliefs are harmful, you would want to tell them, hey, red flag, don't go to this place. One thing I will say about Bethel is that, okay, I feel it is a cult. That is how I feel. People can say differently if they want. I feel it's a cult. And so that's why I kind of say culty as well. I kind of say
Mm-hmm.
both of those things. But I do think that the majority of like the cultiness is in Reading itself. I do think that that environment and where the leaders really have a lot of control over the people who are in Reading, and it's just very toxic, so much cover up culture going on there. I would be more worried if they were planning on moving to Reading, if they were trying to really immerse themselves in it. Obviously, you said that he goes to the conferences. I find that Bethel keeps its toxic beliefs and some of its more woo woo out there type stuff for the people who actually live in California. And I think that it can be easy for people to like casually drink the Kool-Aid around the world because they have Bethel TV. So they're trying to get everybody to tune in on Sundays and stuff. So that's where I feel like maybe it's up to you how much you want to try to warn them. Because do I think your parents are, I don't know, if something really horrible is going to happen if they just continue to like Bethel? Maybe not, because there is just the charismatic church as well. And Bethel would just say that they are a charismatic church. And I do feel like the culty stuff is going on actually in Reading. Obviously, I think I would probably want to talk to them if they are unaware of the cover up culture. I would, and I do not support this man. I'm just going to say this. Do not support this man. I do not believe anything he believes in. He makes so many offensive videos. But Mike Winger, okay,
Uh-huh.
he is a Christian guy who goes biblically based, and he has made a lot of good-ish videos about Bethel, saying why it is not biblical and how it is very concerning and the cover-up culture there. So while I do not align myself with Mike Winger, I do think he is like a good gateway to get people who are in that world to realize that there's something wrong, that there is an issue going on in Bethel culture, of them knowing that their prophets, quote unquote prophets, are making up these words, looking them up online, that they're not warning their congregation about these things. He's made videos about that. And then I think that there's another Christian YouTuber called Fighting for the Faith. I think that's his name. And people have told me that they like him as well. He's made a lot of videos about Bethel. So if your parents would be open to looking at something like that, maybe they could just get the overall overview of some of the big red flags from Bethel. You say that your mom wants to bring some of the healing stuff to the church. I'm so curious. You have to keep me updated. I'm so curious how that's going to go, because the amount of people who have DM'd me and told me that Bethel infiltrated my church. We were such a normal church. And then somebody went to a conference, they came back, they tried to bring it back. And I'm sure it was the same thing with IHOP, right, Ken's? Like people trying to plant international houses of prayer all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And these people are so angry that Bethel has destroyed their church, because typically what happens is half the church is against it, half of it's for it, and then the church splits. And it was big drama. And the amount of times I've heard that story is crazy. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she gets pushback on that. I think if you want to just human to human, and this is getting theological, but if you want to human have a conversation with your mom and just say, have you thought about how those beliefs can be kind of hurtful? Because I think the healing beliefs of Bethel is actually some of the most damaging parts of Bethel. This idea that if you just had enough faith, you would be healed. Or the idea, Bethel would always say, if you're not healed, it's probably because you have unforgiveness in your life, or you don't have enough faith. Those are the two reasons. And they would always say, we do not change our theology based on our experiences. We go based off of God's word. So if I were to say, I swear I don't have unforgiveness, I swear I fully believe, they'd be like, probably not. Because you would be healed. We do not change our theology based on our experience. So when you have somebody who is chronically ill and it is being put back onto them, like, hey, you have cancer because you don't believe enough. And I remember, and it's sad, I mean, the brother and sister are now deconstructed and out and queer, so it's funny, but they were drinking the Kool-Aid so much when we were at Bethel. They were on the worship team, very kind people, and their mom was diagnosed with cancer, and she had so much faith. I remember it was my first year at Bethel. It really rocked my theology at the time, because her kids were posting like, oh, she's 100% going to be healed. Like, we're not even worried about it. I have never seen a family have so much faith that she was going to be fine, and she died in my first year. And it was so traumatic because it messed with me, because I knew that she believed it. Like in my mind, nobody had that much faith, So these beliefs can be very damaging to people and very shaming to people, because not only do you not get the support that you hope you would get if you were going through a life-threatening illness, you also now have shame put back onto you of, actually, now you're the bad guy in this situation where you're actually the victim of whatever is going on in your body or going on in your life. And yeah, it's super damaging. So if you would want to, you could have a conversation with your mom and just say, like, what do you make of that? What do you make of their belief of this? And see what she says. But I think as far as, should I just let them be or should I talk to them? That is such a personal decision. I think that there are people in my life that I just don't broach these sorts of topics with them, because I know that it's not going to change anything. And I value the calmness in our relationship, at least. Like, I would like it to just kind of be okay. And I know that they're not really open to input. So if your dad completely idolizes Bethel and nothing you say could ever convince him that he has experienced God in Redding, California, I don't know what to say, because I mean, I've been there. I have so been there. If somebody had tried to talk to me and tell me that they were worried about me, I would have been like, Yeah, well, you have no idea what it feels like to have the Holy Spirit take over your body and you know that you are in God's will. I mean,
Yeah,
I would have sworn that this place was great and everything and was exactly what Jesus wanted. So I think for you, it's up to you to decide, because at the end of the day, you can't change your parents. We can't change anyone. We can try to open their eyes if they're open to it and if you do it gently and kindly. But the idea that you're just going to say, Bethel's bad, and they're going to say, great, I'm never going to listen to it ever again. I mean, who knows, But if they're open to curiosity, you know your parents better than us. If they're open to curiosity, then maybe you could try to have a conversation with them. But man, it's a tricky question,
it
right,
is.
Ken's? Like,
No, it totally is. Yeah, I was going to say, I think I was going to say the same thing, that it's really up to you and how you think this might affect your relationship with your parents. Like, if you're really truly worried that they're going to drink the Kool-Aid in a way that's going to be detrimental to their lives and their relationship with you, and you feel like you have to share, then like, absolutely share. I would, because I like to argue, I guess. I don't really know. Like, I think I would tell my parents what I thought. I personally hold the belief that the charismatic sector of Christianity is a cult. I think all of charismatic Christianity is a cult. That's just my personal belief. So I wouldn't just talk about Bethel. I would extend to the controversies within the
New
charismatic.
Apostolic Reformation.
Yeah, yes. I would definitely point to that, and I would bring up all of the controversies. I would give them articles and I would let them do it. I would be like, hey, here's the information. When I say I love to argue, I wouldn't push it. I wouldn't try to have this conversation every single time I see them. But I would want them to at least know what I know if I feel that they're ignorant to it, like they've just never seen it or they've just never heard it. And I had this information, I would want to share it. So I would give them the articles, I'd give them the YouTube videos, I'd send them the TikToks or whatever it is, the podcasts that I've listened to. And even if there's like open Facebook groups that talk about things that happen inside these organizations, I would send them those. I would tell them the stories of people that I know from my own life who have experienced harm by people that are higher up in these organizations, and just by the movement itself. Like you were saying, the theology of healing and what they believe about it is harmful in and of itself. So I would talk about those things. I would try to do it from a place of non-judgment. I would try to do it from a place of, I don't know if you know this, but this is what I've heard or what I know about these organizations and these people. Just want you to have this information because I love you and I care about you, right? And leave it at that, because at the end of the day, you can't do anything. If they want to drink the Kool-Aid, they're going to drink it, and that's so hard and it sucks. I guess on my end of things, when I was in the cult that I was in, the International House of Prayer, my mom was the one who was desperately afraid for my life and saw it for what it was. And I didn't listen to her. She could have sent me 5 million articles and given me proof, and I would have never, it had to happen to me. I had to experience it myself. So I do think that unfortunately people almost always learn by experiencing things in their own lives, and things that happen to them is what changes them. I don't think people typically just take the word of anybody else over their own experience. So that's what you said, it's like, it doesn't really matter what people said because you're experiencing the Holy Spirit, right? Or you think that you are. And so
And
it's
you
like,
feel like you have that high. I feel like
yeah,
I kind of liked what you said. I'd have to sit and think how I feel about it. But the idea of, all of charismatic Christianity being just a cult. I mean, honestly, it is, in my opinion, okay, I guess I can't really say that. I was going to say I think it is the most toxic form of Christianity. But then I'm like, actually, there's like
others.
the Baptist movement, IFB or whatever it's called. I mean, they're the ones where it's super horrible to women. So yeah,
Yeah.
they're all terrible in their own ways.
Mm-hmm.
One is like super oppressive of women. This one is just like super harmful, gives your leaders way too much power over your life because they're prophets, and people can just say that you're demon possessed, and everything is just so woo woo that
Yeah.
it's very culty. Yeah, but one good resource too is the Heaven Bent podcast. Have you ever heard of that, Kens?
Yeah, I have heard of it.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good. It talks a lot about the New Apostolic Reformation, which IHOP was a part of that. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these connected cult ministries are a part of it. And basically, it goes through a lot of their scandals. So they've had an entire season on Bethel. They've talked about BSSM. And I like it because she comes at it from a pretty balanced place. She comes at it more so from a place of like what is actually happening behind the scenes. And it's not like she is necessarily saying, oh, people who speak in tongues, they're like crazy and it's not real.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
just like, I'm so curious what is happening in people's brains when they are speaking in tongues, and she comes at it
Yeah.
from that space. But yeah, I did a couple episodes on that. Jedediah did some
Mm-hmm.
episodes. Those are currently coming out about his dad. And there was so much cover up culture with his dad, who was the prophet. And his dad was sexually abusing women. And
Yeah.
Bill knew about it. And they still invited him to come
Yep.
to Bethel. So yeah, I don't know. It's a mess, the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is unfortunate that we cannot save the people that we love from their own life experiences and what they choose. However, do I think it's totally valid for you to at least share what you know? Yeah, definitely. Because even if it doesn't change things now, the seeds that my mom planted, they did, like, they ended up mattering to me significantly later on when I was in my own process of deconstruction. It took years, but it happened. And then I was so grateful because every little thing along the way that made me question, even if it was kind of subconsciously, because I was really pushing back against any sort of criticism of this organization. But had I not had anybody in my life, who knows if I would have let myself go there and start to question the way that I did. It could have taken me longer because I really did think about those things. So, and it did lead me to doing my own research eventually. So, yeah, I think it's worth it to share if
Yeah.
you want to, if it feels like important to you.
Yeah. Just know that, you can't control their reaction and but
Yep.
there's no harm in trying. I do agree with the idea that when people plant these seeds, it can be meaningful down the line. I mean, remember that guy sent an email saying that Bethel was a
Yes.
cult? Man, and I just thought, okay, well, I'm still going because I'm already here.
Yep.
But when I did start deconstructing, I remembered that. So for all you know, there could be a huge scandal with Bethel soon. Who knows? There's so much coming out about them all the time. You could start to build a foundation and then it all comes crumbling down eventually,
Yep.
when something really big comes out. So yeah, let us know what you decide to do. Let me
Yeah.
know how your mom's thing of trying to bring Bethel to the church comes, because I'm so interested in, like, that's one crazy thing about Bethel is I'm always thinking about how big their reach is.
Yeah.
You would think they're just harming the people who really go out there, but no, it's vast and it is all over the world and it's happening to so many churches. So, and through Bethel worship music
Oh,
too.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a huge part of their reach. Yes, that's crazy. Been there, and we're standing in solidarity with you. Sorry that your
Absolutely.
family is going through this.
Are you
All
ready for the
right.
next one?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
ready.
My husband and I have been happily married for 4 years. We live in a random, remote little town that is a full 14-hour day of expensive bus and air travel away from our immediate families, having both moved here from different states for work prior to meeting. When I left college, I was very missions minded and wanted to start my career in a place that I felt had real need. I was always planning on moving back to my home state because I've always been very close with my siblings. In fact, I initially told them that I was only going to be at this job for 1 to 2 years. It has now been 6. Recently, they've been putting on pressure. They don't know why we haven't moved back yet, especially since my husband has always been open to the idea. It's been hard to keep in touch because we are all so busy, but my husband and I accidentally built a beautiful little community here. We are financially secure in our jobs that are very meaningful to us. We have grown a lot and no longer see our tiny town as a missions field, but as a regular place that we love, want to pour into, and want to be a part of. We have friends. We have found an open minded church that we adore, which is a rare find as we have both deconstructed from a more conservative, non denominational tradition that we lived in. And we are starting our own little family soon. Understandably, my husband now feels hesitant to leave, and it's a painful prospect for me too. But all of my siblings and extended family, plus my wonderful childhood friends that I keep in touch with, are together, far away, without us, and it eats at me every day. I should mention that my family would never move. Their whole life revolves around their church that we grew up in, which I will say is an extremely loving place. I just don't agree with them anymore. I tell my mom that we are discerning what God wants for us. which I guess is kind of true, but she does not buy that answer and says that we can serve him anywhere, including my home state. So many people in this world live far from their siblings, and I just don't know how they do it. Is this an eldest daughter thing? Mostly I want to be at peace, but I feel like either decision will be a mess of turmoil. Internal and relational turmoil if we stay, external turmoil if we leave and have to start over. Any advice is so appreciated.
This submission made me emotional because it really is hard to choose your community and what you feel like you're abandoning one or the other because you love both. It's very clear that you love both places. There are things that are drawing you to go back home. They're back to where you grew up. There are things that are drawing you to stay in this place that you've created, in this home that you've created for yourself. I think you know that Jubilee and I cannot tell you what to do, right? And how to make this decision. It's impossible. It's an impossible decision to make. But I will tell you something that my fiance and I were talking about last night. So Luca and I were having a conversation after we went to this event yesterday where I was around a group of people who made me feel so alive and so inspired to chase my dreams in a very specific way. And that energy of being with them extended into the evening after and the conversations after. And it just felt like a lot of burden of everyday life and like the jaded feeling of life kind of just felt lifted for a few hours. And I could see clearly that, you know, we've been dealing with the idea of what if we get stuck in a rut and we never fully do the things that we want to do? And how do we make sure that that doesn't happen for us? And we realized yesterday that putting ourselves in spaces with other creative people who are doing things at all ages and stages, all walks of life, is really inspiring for us and will help us to stay motivated and more so diligent and dedicated to our dreams when life gets hard and we want to kind of just like pull back and kind of fall into that rut. And so we realized that that's a piece for us. Finding people who we can do specific, and I'm going to talk about this in my overshare hour, like why it's so specific, but finding people that we can do these things with, that I can do these things with, is going to help me stay committed to myself and my goals. And that's a huge part of the village that I need in my life, right? Like I have my village with Juby and our village that we have in our community. And then I have my family, my biological family that I love dearly, but have learned recently, though I love them so much and would never want to not be a part of their lives, they're not my community. They're not my inner circle, right? They're not my people. And so now there's this other layer that I'm realizing that I'm missing, that I need a creative community and this other type of community and this other type of village. And because I grew up with a specific group of people, my family were also my friends. The friends that I have to this day, I've been friends with since I was 14, and there's nothing wrong with that. I hold them near and dear to my heart. However, specifically with my family, I've changed so much and become so different that if I were to make any adjustments to my life in order to stay near them, I would be abandoning myself in some way. And so I'm not in the position that you're in right now at this point in my life where I would have to move. That might be somewhere that I'm at later in life. But what I would ask myself, and what I am asking myself, what I would encourage you and your husband to ask yourselves is what you're giving up in the community that you've built something that feels like sustainable in your life? Because if you're going to be abandoning a part of yourself, not abandoning people, this isn't about, because either way you're leaving someone, right? There's some group that's getting, less of you in their physical presence, right? This is about what you need. And that's going to come with grief on either side. So whatever you choose, even if it's the best decision, there's going to be a grief aspect to that. That's just going to be part of it. But is this community that you built the people that inspire you? Are they the people that you imagine in the middle of the night, if an emergency happens, that you want them by your side? Are they your village? Are they your community? And if the answer is yes, then maybe you've built your home where you're at, and you have to stay for you, not for anybody else. If you feel like you cannot imagine for your own self not living with your family or your siblings, then that is something to pay attention to. But if any decision that you make comes from a place of fear of letting others down or making a decision that's going to harm other people, then you're not listening to what you need. You're listening to the noise of what others expect of you. And so that's how you're going to decide. You're going to decide based on what you feel you need in order to be the most inspired, creative, non-stuck version of yourself. And that might change over time, but right now, where is that? Is it back where you grew up, or is it here? Is this where you want to start your little family? Is the friend that you have in this city that you live in right now the person that you want, the day after your child is born? You have to think about these little moments, imagine them, create them in your mind, and see how you feel in your body about them. And that's how you make the decision. And then leave the future in the future. Like, just make the decision for now. If I were you, I'd be like, where are we going to be for the next year? I wouldn't be thinking about where are we going to be for the rest of our lives. I would just say, where are we going to be for the next year? Are we ready to make the decision to move? Maybe we stay for a little bit and we revisit this a little bit later and see how we feel then. But yeah, if your family is pressuring you, it's more about what they need from you. You need to be asking what you need from you. That's my advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think? Yeah.
I agree. I love what you said about I wouldn't necessarily focus on what you're going to do forever. I do understand that, yes, there are things to think about and things to factor in long term, but I do think puts a lot of weight on the situation if you are thinking, where are we going to live for the rest of our lives? This is a hard one because I feel like I've lived this in a few different ways. I think that one thing I did appreciate a lot from my parents growing up is that they encouraged us to move away for college. And it was something that they were pretty adamant about. They said it was very meaningful to them to be able to go off and live in a different state than their families, and that they wanted us all to be able to have that. So when I went to Bethel, despite the fact that Bethel is crazy, there was something really beautiful about moving out on my own, creating my own life, having my own community, even when it was culty, And then same, when I moved out to Pennsylvania, that was a very crazy time, but I lived life, And I think that there's something about living life away from your family and deciding what you want and what you and your partner want. And I moved to Atlanta. I loved Atlanta. I loved it so much, and I never expected to love it that much. And I remember at the time, I was so depressed being with, not full-time depressed, but I would have these, and anybody who's been in a domestic violence relationship can probably understand, where you feel like you're living two different realities. You can be happy personally, but you're very unhappy in your marriage. So I would have these moments of like very dark depression where I didn't want to be alive anymore. But I also loved Atlanta and I loved doing background acting. And I remember during that time, I was like, I never want to move back to Texas ever. I want to live in Atlanta for the rest of my life. And there's something just very empowering about creating life away. I really enjoyed it. I did. It was for a season. Obviously, I came back and I needed my family after that to be able to get through the divorce and that entire situation. But reading your submission, it just feels like you guys have found something really special where you guys are living, that it feels like probably similar to what I felt when I was living out in Atlanta, where it just felt like this is just right. I just feel good here and I actually love it. And the fact that you guys built this community there, of course it's hard to think about, would I actually want to leave? Would I actually want to go back to my hometown? And it's hard when you're getting family pressure. It sounds like they're maybe not purposefully. I don't think anybody's trying to be bad, but guilting you a little bit and kind of implying, well, you said it was only going to be a little bit. Like, why are you still there? And they want you back. And it's just because they love you and they think that you're great, so they want you back. But I would try as much as possible to not let that factor into your decision, because it is your life. And there are ways to be a good sister and to be a good family member, even if you're living far away. You can still be intentional and send gifts and write letters and FaceTime. There's ways to still be connected very connected to the family if you're intentional about it. One thing I did want to say is you mentioned about starting a family. And I mean, I really do feel like these are valid questions to have. They're questions of when we start our family, do we want to live near family? So, kind of what you were saying, Ken's, when you were saying, if I really needed someone, who would I call? You know, is my community here up to the challenge? Because that is
Mm-hmm.
something I would be thinking about because Brand and I have had this talk of, and we don't know where we want to live. I mean, we've talked about it that we don't really want to live in Texas forever. The girls really want to move. And we all say that if one of us moves, we're all going to move. And
Oh.
we've talked about which state we would all like to live in. So that's definitely a possibility. But there's also the fact of, you know, family support helps a lot when
Mm-hmm.
you have children, you know. So that is something to think about, is if that is very important to you guys. Is it important to you guys that you are near family when you have kids? Is that kind of a core value that you want, where your children will grow up around your parents and your siblings? Or do you think that you can have the community where you are and just visit? And there's no wrong answer. It's a
Mm-hmm.
complete personal decision on what you guys want to do. So it is hard, I think, trying to decide, especially when they sound like they're both good options. You know, it's not
Yeah.
like one is really bad. And I'm glad that you guys have found a church that is open and accepting. So if I were you, I would also be thinking, okay, if I move back, are they going to want me to go back to that church? I would just try to run through your mind any scenario. Sounds silly, like pros, cons.
No, but really.
Yeah, like if I moved back, and I could totally be projecting because I have no idea what your family's like, but I would be thinking, okay, so if I move back, are they going to want me to start going to that church again? Are they going to be upset that I'm not going back because they're going to say, "Hey, it was great. You didn't have any religious trauma. It's a very kind church, but you're like cool, but it doesn't align with me anymore." So I would just
Mm-hmm.
be running through those scenarios in my head of what downsides there could be, what extreme positives would there be for you to be able to be around your family, be around your friends who you've said you've had since childhood. Yeah, it's a tough decision, but I would make it for you and your partner. I think that
Yeah.
that is the most important thing, to make sure that you're trying to not let other people's opinions, other than y'all's opinions on your life and what you want, help you make that decision.
Yeah. Definitely. And you can make that pros and cons list as well. Like both of you make them separately and then bring them together and have that conversation too, just to see, where both of you are at and how you can make compromises there. Because at the end of the day, you're right. It's about both of you and your family that you're starting.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to be away from family when you have kids. However, I would honestly say, and I have support, from family, but my daughters are 11 and 10, and we have a custody situation where I legally have to stay in the city that I live in. If that was not a thing and like we just happened to not have that situation, hypothetically, we would move.
Yeah.
We would go have an adventure and start our continue our lives somewhere else that feels like a city that feels more aligned to us. So I would miss family for sure, and that would be a grieving experience for sure, but we would move.
Mm-hmm.
And we would move. That's just how I feel. So yeah, just because it's difficult without family doesn't mean it's not always worth it or the right thing to do for you. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard.
Yeah, a
Very
lot
hard.
of factors.
Yeah.
Man, we've all been there. And I think moving, it's just it is a huge decision. I mean, it
Mhm.
impacts every aspect of your life. But I think the good thing is that it sounds like both are good. It's not like you're fleeing from a bad situation, or if you were to go back, it would be really bad.
Yeah.
It's trying to decide which one you can't really live without.
Yep. And the finances, they both have good jobs in this town that they live in. So that's a huge thing too, unless you have
Absolutely.
a job that you can work, from anywhere, or, I mean, I guess there's lots of jobs that you can move with, but that's something to think about,
100.
do you want to risk losing a job that you absolutely love and make good money at?
Yeah.
That's another thing.
So maybe sit down, do your pros and cons list, and you guys might be surprised what's on each other's pros and cons list. Like, do it totally separately. Maybe go to a
Uh-huh.
coffee shop and then be like, what? You really think about that? Like, allow yourself to imagine all of the different scenarios. And then, I don't know, just talk through it, but I would focus on the next year. And then you
Yes.
guys can continually revisit this thing
Yeah.
as time goes on. Don't let the family pressure of why are you still there force you to make a decision. If, say, you move back with your family and that ends up being the decision that feels good to you guys, maybe that's not for another year or two. And you're still
Yeah.
in this very sweet, magical season where you really like
Mm-hmm.
your town. And maybe it's not over
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, don't make it before you're ready just because you're being pressured.
Yeah.
Like, wait until you know. And you'll know. I know you'll know. You're going to have that feeling where it's like, this is the right thing, even if it's hard,
Yeah.
regardless. Well, that's it for our submissions today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready to get into our overshare hour?
Oh, yes, I am. My
Yes.
goodness. Do you want to
You
go
want to share?
first? Okay.
Sure. Okay, so I talked a little bit about how I'm doing good and I did something fun this weekend. So yesterday, I've talked a little bit on the pod. If you're new here, I've talked a little bit on the pod about how acting is like my first love and my passion. It's like my creative outlet and also what I would love to do professionally if that was a thing. And so, which it is a thing, but I just don't know if it's a thing for me at this point. So that is what I was going to do with my life until I joined a cult, as you do, and I was on that path. So I've been able to revisit that path a little bit. The city that I live in is artsy, but it's not like a hub for, acting or anything like that. But there are opportunities, and I happen to be connected with a production company that does theater. And we did a reading of a play that was called Becky Nurse Salem or something like that. Now I can't think of the name of it, but it's a play by Sarah Rule, and it's about this girl or this woman who is the great, 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 great granddaughter of Rebecca Nurse, who was one of the witches who was killed in the witch trials in Salem. And she now is the tour guide at the museum of like the witch trials in Salem. And so it's a comedy actually, but it's a dramedy because the whole play you like laugh, laugh, laugh. And at the end, like all of these pieces come together and it mixes like the relevance of our political state right now, women's issues, opioid addiction and loss from addiction, families that are broken and grandparents who have to raise grandchildren and challenges that come with that. And so depression and mental health, there was just like so many topics that were very relevant. And so, yeah, I had the most unbelievable creative experience. I told Juby at the beginning before we started recording, I haven't had an experience like this creatively. It might be one of the best I've ever had, like reading a play or doing a play. So it was really amazing. And I made some really good connections and networked. And I'll be doing like 4 more plays this year with that production company. These are going to be readings, but these will be more staged. This was kind of more chill. These will be doing staged readings. And hopefully I'll be able to do more professional theater now around San Antonio as opposed to more like community theater. So yeah, we're going to be doing a lot coming up. Hopefully we will produce this one. I really hope we do this one. But yeah, the one that we read yesterday. But it was really good and I'm feeling really connected to myself and really positive about I think part of it too is the people that started this production company started it back in 2017 and then she became ill, and also COVID happened. And so they paused it for so many years and they just now got their LLC approved yesterday to continue to do all of the things. And it's like so inspiring to watch people who are about 15, 20 years older than you still doing new things with their lives, even though it would have been so easy for them to not because of the trials that they faced since starting it in the beginning. Like, it's been so many years, right? 9 years? Yeah. And they're just now starting. So again, and they didn't give up on it. And so watching people that are older than you, I feel like, or just ahead of you a little bit in life, not giving up on their dreams and still pushing forward and seeing it being successful because of the work that they're putting in and the love that they have for it, that was really inspiring for me. And I was in a room full of people that way. I was the youngest in this room, and the oldest was probably late 70s, early 80s, and they are also designing sets for professional theater in San Antonio, and they're still acting. And I was just like, this is actually amazing that I'm in a group of people like this right now. I feel really good. You get in that rut, right? I'm like, I'm 32, I can't be an actor. And then I go in and I'm like, this woman is 78, and she's like doing this. It's just really, really inspiring. So I'm feeling really hopeful about that and very happy.
That's so exciting. I feel like even, yes, on the acting front, but even just for having community,
Yes.
honestly. Just
Yeah.
being able to be around like-minded people. I don't know if I told you, Bran the other day was like, I would love to get involved with theater. Not to act, really. He just likes theater people. He's like, I feel like I would vibe with theater people. And he was like, I would love to volunteer and like just work on like the set or something, just so I could like be around it. Cause he said, I don't know how to make friends with the type of people that I want to be friends with, but I think that theater people would be the kind of people I would want to be friends with.
It is actually insane that you say that because Luca and I were talking about that last night. We were like, this feels like we're finding more people that feel like that to us, like you guys. And I feel like Bran is like that. I was like, Bran feels like a theater kid who just like never did theater, but it's not.
He would have killed it.
Yes. It's like the depth, the way that he like deeply feels things and like deeply empathizes with all different walks of life and experiences. Like that is Bran. And that's so true of all of the people in this room. And I was like, every single one of them reminded me of Brandon.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if they need help on their set, honestly, talk to
Yeah. Or
him because
even just like, they're going to be doing more of these like pop-ups. Even if he could just come and watch and listen and get a part of the community and network that way to see like, what can I do? How can I be a part of it?
that's so fun.
So yeah.
No, he would love that because he's been talking about this for a long time. And he has said, because he can sing. And I'm like, you know what? He has said, I really wish I would have done a musical theater in high school. He said, I feel like I would have been really good at it. Like I would have had a lot of fun doing it. So that's cool. Yeah, keep me
That is cool.
updated.
Okay, I will. All
That's
right,
awesome.
that's mine. What's yours?
Okay, it might be long because I have two overshare moments today. Okay, so
Cool.
the last one is funny. I'll start off with the depressing one.
Okay.
It'll be like half of an overshare moment because I can't share many details because a lot of it has to do with my work and I don't want to get in trouble and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has been the worst week ever. Right,
Yeah.
Kenzie?
Yeah.
Kenzie gets to know the tea. She gets to know the details. But yeah, basically, I had this thought that I wanted to go part-time, which is a very big deal. Very big deal for me, especially because we're in debt. So it's a big leap to make. And I've been starting to make more money on social media. And I was kind of just doing the mental math of, okay, well, if I worked, let's say 7 hours less a week, then that would free up some time to where I can promote the podcast more and kind of just this leap of faith of I am hoping that if I put more time into this, that I will make more than I would make at my
Right.
job. And yeah, it was like not received great. And there was a lot of stuff that happened this week. And then a lot of scary things happening this week. And I cannot get into the details. It absolutely sucks. But, I called Kenzie crying and it's been scary. So I am going part-time. It did end up kind of getting resolved. It was like a roller coaster of stuff going on. It did get resolved. I am going to work part-time, but there's some other sources of income that were kind of connected to my job that were compromised from that decision. So there's like additional income that I wasn't expecting to lose that I'm going to lose in the next 6 months. So it's just a lot. It's a lot. And it has been very stressful. Not at all how I thought those conversations were going to go. A lot of like personal hurt along with that. And it's been hard because I've been at this job for like 6 years. So I
Yeah.
just did not think that that was going to happen. Yeah, so it has been a very difficult week and then also just a lot of panic. I think that it's something that I don't talk about often because I don't think that people want to hear about content creation because it's like I don't want to hear about how hard content creation is. Okay. But I mean, I do try to work very hard and last month was really good financially and that's what gave me the thought of okay, I think I'm good now. I think I can like go part-time. And then this month has been kind of low. So there's just that fear of, oh my gosh, what if, a few videos flop and then I'm all of a sudden like, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
It's done, and I
Yeah.
think that that's like the downside of being a content creator is when you make permanent decisions like going part-time, you just hope that it just doesn't dry up and die. So
Yeah.
it's stressful. It is very stressful, especially since we're in debt. I'm hopeful. I'm trying to bet on myself. And the truth is, I know that there are always ups and downs.
Yes.
I can't tell you. And Bran always reminds me, he's like, you've had 4 months like this before where you have said that there's been a lag and that you're so worried and it always comes back. And it's true.
Yep.
It always has come back and
Yep.
it's just bad timing. It's bad
Yes.
timing to be in a lag when I'm having
Yes.
all of these like very scary things happening on the professional side of my job.
Yeah. And it's so
So
easy to forget to remember the months that you were doing not so well and that it got better. I mean, it's that feeling of, oh, my whole life's going to be like this. It's always going to be like this, once you're in the panic of it.
yes. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? This was the worst thing ever. And yeah, it's hard. So then I'm navigating that and then I'm navigating personal boundaries and it's just a lot
Yeah.
this week. But on a happier note, something absolutely ridiculous happened yesterday that was super funny. I started to tell Kenzie, but she was like, you need to save this for your moment. So yesterday, me and my sisters, we decided that we were going to go to what's it called? A corn maze. I was very excited. I've been to this corn maze once before, so we went with them and it was a lot of fun. And there's this maze where you answer questions as you go through it. So they hand you this piece of paper, you answer the questions, and the questions, based on the answer in the piece of paper, it tells you if you're supposed to turn left or right. That way you don't get lost in this maze. So
Okay.
there's an easy one and a hard one. So we ended up going late at night. It's like 8 or 9 p.m. and we're out in this maze. It's super dark. And then they decide, it would be so fun if we turned off our flashlights. That would be so fun if we turned off our flashlights and let's not use the paper. Let's not cheat. Let's just do it. And I'm like,
Whose idea was this? Was Brandon
absolutely
the catalyst for this? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
but everybody was on board. Everybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm like, yeah, that sounds so fun. I'm like notoriously the not chill one at these events. So, yeah, I'm like, okay, we're doing this. So I'm just kind of quiet. I'm walking through this corn maze with no light on and hoping that we don't get lost like deep in the depths of this maze.
Oh my gosh. They're
So,
big.
Huge. Like
No,
you
like,
guys
they're
have
big.
no idea. Huge.
Yeah.
So we do the first maze completely without the piece of paper. And super proud of us. Took us forever because we kept getting lost and things were blocked off and stuff. So we come out of it, and then there's the second maze that this one was supposed to be harder. So we were like, okay, this place is going to close. We don't have time to do all this. It closed at 10. So we were like, you know what? Let's use the paper this time, but let's try to finish it as fast as possible. Like, let's time it. That would be so fun. So stupid. So we're like, yeah, let's time it. And we'll actually like answer the question. So Brandon started his stopwatch like right when we entered. And we're like going through, and at first we're like fast walking, but then Brand gets like really excited. So he starts to run, and then we're kind of like running behind him, and nobody is in this maze. It's very dark. Like,
Yeah.
there were people on the other side of the maze before, but I did not see anybody in this maze. So we're running, and all of a sudden this woman stops us. And I would say trotting. Okay, I wouldn't even say running, but
Yeah.
whatever. She stops us, and I thought that she was... at first I didn't know what she wanted, but then she said, okay, you guys have been caught running. She said, you've been caught running. And she's being so serious. And I thought that, okay, she's going to give us like a very strong warning that we should not run in this maze. When I tell you, she told us to put our hands in the circle because we had wristbands on. So they were these yellow wristbands. She said, like, put your hands in the circle. She takes out a pair of scissors and she cuts them off of our arms. I was like, what is happening? So she was like, okay, I'm taking your wristbands because you guys have been running in the maze. And then she pulls out these white wristbands and she was like, now I'm going to put on these white wristbands and you guys have to leave the corn maze and you cannot re-enter the corn maze, but you can go enjoy the rest of like the activities. So it's literally a wristband saying like we're banned from the corn maze. It was so stupid. And like what was so funny, it took her forever to do it. So like she would put them on our wrists and then she'd be like, is it too tight? And then she was like personally putting these bands on 5 of us as we're going around the circle. And it just took forever and it was awkward. And you could like hear a pin drop and we were all kind of like laughing because we're like, are we getting kicked out right now? So
This
apparently
is so dramatic.
so dramatic. And apparently we were not supposed to, like, I didn't even realize that we weren't supposed to run.
Yeah.
And had she been like, don't run, I would have been like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like
Absolutely.
I absolutely, yes, ma'am, but no, I'm like, here I am, 31 years old, being kicked out of a corn maze. And it was so dramatic because she put on the white bands and then we were escorted out of the maze.
Did y'all stay or did you leave?
We did stay because there was so much to do on property. There was a lot. There was food and there was games and there were slides and we made s'mores afterwards and it was fine. But I mean, like this place is the corn maze place, so that was disappointing.
And it's not cheap. It's not like the cheapest event.
It's like $20, I think, or something.
A person, yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. We took a selfie and Bran and everybody, we were cracking up and Bran was like, I'm actually so happy this happened. This is such a great story, and we're always going to remember this. So
you got kicked out of the corn maze.
Got kicked out.
Like a bunch of hooligans.
I know. Bran, he was so funny. He wishes he had gotten into more, this is exactly his word, mischief growing up. So he was like, guys, we got into some mischief.
The highlight of his life.
No, he was beaming. And it was so funny because also as we were walking out, she's like escorting us out. And y'all know, Bran is just the sweetest human being ever. We were all very nice, like, yes, ma'am, right? And he was like, has anybody else been kicked out today? And he's asking, or he said, how many people have you kicked out today? But he said it as he really wants to know. Like Bran was like trying to make casual conversation with this woman. She ignored him. Like,
what?
I think she thought he was being sassy. Like, how many people have you kicked out today? But he was like,
oh my gosh.
He was like, so how many people have you kicked out today? And the whole thing was just cringe. Like, it was the worst. It was the worst.
That is so funny.
And I'm such a chronically good kid, So
you are.
This is my worst nightmare. I'm like,
hey, this is good though. Good for Bran. It's like a low risk mischief situation. It wasn't jail.
Proud of himself. Because like, I got into trouble.
You have been caught running. You have been caught. Halt.
I'm like, we could have gotten a warning. We could have. What was so funny too is as we were going in, this woman was like explaining how the stuff works. And she was like, I forgot what she was saying. She was like, if you scream, if you whatever, you can be kicked out. She must have said running and we missed it, which is hilarious. And we asked her, like, he asked this woman, how many people have been kicked out this year? And we were like making conversation. Little did we know we would be one of them, so our bad. Please forgive us.
Wow. Good story. Bran's right. It's a good story.
Yeah.
And hey, y'all had fun. At least there was other things to do and it wasn't just that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a lot of other stuff to do. And I'm excited to take Indy there next year because there's lots of dogs.
Really?
Yeah, dogs were everywhere. So I'm like, next year we're going to take her.
Can they do the corn maze?
Mia said she saw somebody, a dog in the corn maze. So I feel like yes.
That's cool.
So we'll see. But yeah, that is my overshare moment.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
A little bit of sad, but that was a funny one at the end.
Yeah, some bad, some good. But hopefully things are looking up from here.
Yes, I think so. We'll see how next week goes. I feel like we're always coming with a mixed bag.
Always, yeah. But if you guys could please keep writing in. We love your submissions. Y'all have been writing in such good ones recently, so thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we also have a Patreon, so please head over to our Patreon. It's $5?
$5.
$5 a month, and you get 3 bonus stories every single month. Right now, we're doing stories from Reddit because it's freaking awesome and hysterical. It's so funny. And so if you're interested in that, then you can go get our Reddit hot takes over on Patreon.
Yeah, and if you guys see any Reddit stories that you want us to cover on the Patreon, you can like send them, because I know there are some viral crazy ones and maybe you want our takes on them. So feel free to send that to the Overshare Hour Instagram. But other than that, I think that's it. So we will see you guys next week for another episode of the Overshare Hour.
We love you. Bye.